Ciao,
Let's
ciao.
go on a walk.
Too hot in there.
Yeah, it's too hot, and I think we're creating an unrealistic expectation, because every time I'm doing walk the talk, there's amazing weather, there's beautiful sun, and I think people are not aware how many times we canceled because of the weather.
Yeah.
And how many days like this truly are. I think
we got very lucky. I mean, even yesterday it was...
Yesterday was like the thickest fog ever.
The weather is funny here. Seems like it's like every day is different. I was just in Canada, you know, on the west coast, and it was just like I was there for 3 weeks. I think it was maybe not raining 3 days.
Maybe not raining 3 days.
So every single day was just rain. But it was just the same, you know. And then here it's like yesterday it's like completely different. Today it's clear. You know.
Somehow it doesn't let us go into that dreamy state of, oh, what is outside? Let's explore the outside, and keeps us locked inside, going on the inside more than on the outside.
It's a very optimistic way.
Yeah, I try to explain why are we here, you know, in Germany.
Yeah.
But it's a really good place for an ashram, because there are not so many distractions. So for a yogi, this is a really good place, I think, because we just stick around. I'm happy to have you, brother. It's
happy to
nice.
be here. We finally did it. We finally made it.
I cannot believe it. And I'm really curious. I heard some of your satsangs, and you have some really beautiful stories to share. And I was curious to listen to the whole story, because one of the reasons why I'm also doing this is for people to really get to know the person behind the microphone when it's in the temple and giving a lecture or giving a satsang, and just casually sharing our experience, how we got here, how come you are now in this ashram. You came from Canada to Germany.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Before, I'm concerned about your arm. You can't see this, but he's just holding this.
People know.
It's pretty small, but
You're
gonna be good. You're gonna be
bro. Yeah,
I can hold it if you want.
Yeah, because
sometimes we can
you're
switch.
Passionate about doing movies, and you have been working with the cameras and the video department for quite a while, no?
Yeah. It's a good segue actually, because let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh man, how far back? What?
From the beginning. I was born.
Okay. Yeah. So, probably you've heard when I was 19 years old. Actually, I was 18. I was 18, wasn't I? Yeah, when I was 18 years old, my dad died suddenly. You've heard about this?
I heard about this, but I would be really curious to have the listeners.
I'm just ask because I feel like I've told the story so many times, but then every time I retell it, somebody comes to me and says, "Wow, I never heard this story before," and I'm like, "Really? I've told it so many times." So I'm just curious.
You're gonna be surprised, because there are a lot of people who are tuning into the channel who don't even know Bhakti Marga.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to tell that story. That's one of my favorite stories ever. It's so beautiful how you're sharing it. So
also the thing I say also is it's also just part of my story. I cannot change it. I'll keep telling it forever anyway. So okay. So before he passed away, I had actually come in contact with some Bhakti Marga devotees. I think I was probably 16 or 17. My parents were divorced. My dad lived in Washington, the United States.
Oh wow.
My mom and her husband live in Vancouver Island, Canada. That's where I grew up. And so I would go and visit my dad and my stepmom, which is Gauri.
Yay!
who is a resident here also.
Yeah.
Our journey on this path is very much connected. And so one day I was visiting them in Washington, and Gauri was kind of involved with this thing called Om chanting and involved with these devotees, which
You had nothing to do.
I had no idea. So literally one day I was there, and she said, "Oh, I go to this thing every week. It's called an Om chanting circle. Would you like to come?" And I think I'm 16 or 17 at this point, and she explains it to me. Yeah, it's just like a bunch of people. We get together every week, and we just sit in 2 circles, one facing in, one facing out. And we chant Om for 45 minutes. And at the time, to be polite, I said, "Oh, yeah, I'll think about it." But of course, I was like, that sounds super weird, 16-year-old kid like this.
What were your interests back then? I'm just curious. What were your passions? Were you interested in spirituality?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, somehow always kind of I had this feeling about something. Actually, I mean, yeah, we even go further back. My mom was, I was raised Christian, went to church, was kind of forced to go to church, as I think many young kids are.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah.
Parents go to church, you go to church.
I don't want to go, but I have to go. My mom always used to say to me, when you're 16, then you can choose. But until then, you have to come to church with me. So, okay. So I turned 16. And I remember we had a youth pastor at the church, right? This Protestant Christian church. He would come to our school, and he would give us pizza every week. We'd meet with him at lunch in my, I guess it was middle school. No, high school. Yeah, middle school, high school. Grade 7 and 8, he'd come and give us pizza, which was a good incentive to meet with him. And we'd talk about the Bible, and we'd talk about Jesus and all this kind of stuff. And through spending time with him and just kind of being at that age, and also just kind of being, I was very rebellious to some degree. I mean, in my own way, not like anything criminal or whatever, but just against my parents and against how I'd been raised. So at that time, I decided I was an atheist. So I was a pretty hardcore atheist when I was like 16.
It was a decision that came as a conclusion of your introspection, or it was just a phase of your growing up?
I would kind of say both, I guess. I think looking back on it now, it was more just to be kind of rebellious and just to kind of go against my mom and kind of go against
the system.
Yeah, the system and how I had been raised and things like that. So that was a pretty intense period of my life. But it actually didn't last all that long, I think, because I still, I was against this kind of religious institution of Christianity that I'd come to understand, but deep down, and also often not so deep down, there was just a profound spiritual inclination, so that was kind of unavoidable a lot of the time, just the feeling that I had,
A feeling of something beyond.
Yeah, I mean, okay, at that age also, very kind of romantic idea of the world and going through a lot of changes and thinking about a lot of different things. And I just remember just being alone and looking at the stars, where I'm from, there's just very, very beautiful nature also, spending time in nature and looking at the night sky. I just have an undeniable feeling of there's something more,
That's pure poetry, bro. Yeah. What you're describing. And that's the artist right there.
And my dad also was very, and Gauri, my stepmom. It was very interesting going back and forth also between
Washington and
exactly, because
Canada.
Which way are we going? This way?
Yeah, we go down, do the big parikrama.
My mom and my stepdad there, my mom's husband, which is very, very much more somehow analytical. My mom's very, very smart. My stepdad is a professor. Just kind of very intelligent people. My sister also is very smart. It's just very kind of left brain, right brain. I forget which one is which, but that's kind of
I think the left one is more the rational and the right one is the artistic, creative part.
So it was kind of like being with my mom and my stepdad in Canada was somehow more left brain, and being with my dad in Gowrie in Washington was somehow more right brain. So they were very spiritual. They always were very spiritual. My dad was doing rituals and ceremonies with the First Nations people of Canada, right? Where I'm from, of course, the land is originally
theirs,
belonging to them, and it's still.
Oh, we have to be careful. Whoop, whoop. We have to be careful. Oh, thank you. Let's slow down a little bit so we can be.
Yeah, sorry, I tend to walk very fast.
Be the same, but then I realized that we're not hurrying because we really want to listen to your story.
So
he was doing sweat lodges and stuff.
Exactly,
like that.
And he used to take me when I was young and other things.
I love sweat lodges. Bro.
Yes. Wow. Also, some pretty intense ceremonies and rituals. Oops, careful. And so anyway, so he was just generally more, kind of this kind of open, kind of spiritual, not religious, very spiritual, very spiritual. And so that was my life. And so But
it's a good balanced life.
Yeah.
If you look at it.
Yes.
I mean, it's balance between reason and.
It was really different, Like it was two very different ways of being raised, let's say, So I was atheist for a while, but back to this one day, Gowrie asks me, I think I must have been 16 or 17. I really wish I could remember specifically, but
very good age.
Yeah. So she asks me, and of course, so this is my background, right? I'm probably
you were exposed
still
to both
kind of
worlds,
freshly kind of atheistic, but kind of moved out of it within a year, but was still not like Christian. I wasn't going to church again with my mom, but still had some feelings and was like reading a little bit. I remember I read the Power of Now, which was pretty, for a teenager to read was pretty like eye-opening to some degree and really helpful to me at that time. So I had both, But at the time she asked me, we go to this thing called Om chanting. And I was like, it sounds pretty weird, Even it's just a bunch of people I don't know. I'm like,
I'm not in the mood.
Yeah, and
I'm a teenager. I want to be alone.
Exactly.
Your gatherings.
Yeah. 100%. Exactly. That's it. That's it. Exactly. And so, so I said, okay, I'll think about it to be polite. I'll think about it. But really, I was like, I'm not going to do this.
It's not going to happen.
And then as the time in the day went on, coming to the evening when we were supposed to go, I just started thinking, I was like, what else am I doing today? Like I don't have any friends here. I'm not, all my friends are in Canada. I'm just here in Washington.
Were you an introvert more?
Yeah, I would say so. And still, as people who know me know. It depends though, if but yes, generally I would say I'm more of an introvert. So as time went on, I just said, who cares? I'm not doing anything. Like nothing else is happening. Like I'm not going out with my friend. I'm not doing anything. Like there's nothing else happening. Like why not? Like let's just go. Why not? Like doesn't even really make sense. Outside of I was just compelled to do so to speak. So I said, okay, let's go. Oh, careful, big ice.
Yep.
And so I went, and I was just kind of pretty immediately surprised at how nice these people were, how kind of normal and chill and just kind of nice it was initially. People were kind of started arriving, It was at a devotee's house, of course. I didn't know that they were devotee. I didn't know anything about what anything was going on. And they were just super nice people. I really liked them. And then we did the Om chanting. I just really liked it. I was like, oh, okay, this isn't so weird.
Yeah,
actually.
we're not holding hands.
Yeah. It was just super nice, actually. And afterwards, the couple who organized it, I mean, we kind of just stayed afterwards after everybody had left, and I don't know. I think they said that they saw something in me, or they were, we just talked for a long time, and that's the first time I heard about Guruji. They showed me pictures, and we just talked, and they told me some amazing things about him, and I was very intrigued. I was very much intrigued, and I think I went back immediately the next week, and quickly after that, decided that I wanted to learn Atma Kriya Yoga.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that was the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just really, really liked them. To be honest, they were so cool, and it was so different than anything.
But what do you feel? What do you feel was different from?
They were so. I mean, the guy was very. I'm very analytical and very skeptical in general, and the guy was. I just related with him also, and her. It's just that they were like these people aren't crazy. They've literally experienced something. This guy is like me. He's very skeptical. He's very. They're both very grounded. I can feel that. I can see that. And yet they're telling me like these incredible things, and they're like telling me their different experiences. They're telling me stories about their guru, this guy, and I'm just very compelled to believe it. They were just super cool, and super, just chill, grounded, and were telling me amazing things. And there was just something about it, something about them, something about the experience that was very attractive. And so I went back again. I wanted to learn Atma Kriya. And at the time I didn't have enough money to learn Atma Kriya, so because I was 16 or whatever. And so I didn't learn Atma Kriya then, but then several months later, they said, oh, there's a monk coming from Germany, and he's going to come and spend, I don't remember what it was, like 10 days in Washington. And so I said, okay, cool. So I'm going to go there. I had the money this time, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to meet this monk that's coming from Germany, from the ashram from Germany, that like lives with this guru. I'm going to go do that. And so I went, I learned Atma Kriya, so I took the course, and then I wasn't initiated by my teacher, which was the woman whose house it was that we did the Om chanting. It was this woman that I had met previously, but I was initiated instead by Rishi Tulsidas at the time. He was a Rishi, and that was the first time that I met Swami Tulsidas, who is Swami now. And
he's in Elmira, New York.
He's in Elmira now. He, of course, had been living in Germany at the time, I think almost, I want to say 10 years or...
Yeah, he was a resident here.
He was a resident for a very long time, yes. And so I had learned Atma Kriya, and then he initiated me into Atma Kriya. And then I proceeded to spend the next, week and a half with him. And that was really game-changing. I just completely loved him. And it was just genuinely just changed my life. He was next level, inspiring and very much relatable to me also. Because, I didn't see a picture of Swami Tulsidas before I met him, or I didn't know anything about him, obviously. I just heard there's a monk coming. Of course, in the West, we have some perceptions of what a monk is and what a guru is, some vague perceptions based on whatever.
Yeah, whatever
Western media we understand, right? And so I assumed that a Hindu monk that was living in an ashram looked a specific way and whatever. And so I was rather surprised when I met Swami Tulsidas, and he was this this little American guy, really sweet American guy with a big beard, and he was just very relatable to me. I was like, oh, you're actually
a normal human being.
Yeah. But there's there's something
Inside,
about you that's like it's very different. Yeah. And so he talked a lot about his guru, told also amazing stories, and was really life changing. So at this time, I was in grade 12. Yeah, so I was 18 years old. I had decided the year before that I wanted. This is kind of funny looking back, but I wanted to become a chef.
I knew something that you wanted to become a movie maker, and now...
Yeah, I wanted to be a chef. I mean, mostly because I disliked school so much, and becoming a chef allowed me to get out of school a semester early, or half a year early. Yeah, I mean, I liked cooking, but that was about it. I was like, so
I hate school. I want to become.
I really didn't like school, and so I didn't know what, I had no idea. I didn't know what I wanted to do or anything. So I was like, okay, let's just do this. And I mean, I remember I had a girlfriend at the time when I had met Tulsidas. And he changed my life kind of so dramatically after reading him that my girlfriend, I was trying to kind of talk to her, and be like, it's so amazing, what is life? What's going on? Like, all these kinds of things. Like, do you ever think about, the deep questions of life? And she was like, what has happened to you? It's like, and we basically broke up because she was like, I was in a relationship with a guy who wanted to be a chef, and now you're talking about like the universe and life and the soul and all these things. Like, I can't handle this. So
very good.
So that relationship ended, and so throughout this whole little saga here that I'm telling, right, from the first day that I went with Gauri to the Om chanting to meeting Tulsidas, being initiated in Kriya, and all of these different things. I've told you my dad is a very spiritual guy. Mm-hmm. He was very, very cool, very open, very sweet. Like was always having conversations with people. I remember just going to the store with him and just him making people feel comfortable and making people laugh. He was a very, very cool guy.
Nice.
And crazy life also. Like he was a pilot. He flew. In the 70s, he did something called barnstorming, which was, of course, not at all possible now, at least not like it was in the 70s, where he would literally just fly around North America in a small airplane and land in people's farms and then give rides to the locals. And that's what he did. Is like,
what a life.
Insane. And the stories he told me, like of how many times he almost died and all the adventures that he had. He was a very, very amazing guy. So he was always there. Yeah, he was always kind of there in the background, and he never really took to it like Gauri and I did. He was always he was cool. He wasn't judgmental. He came to some Om chantings, but he was just kind of like, oh, it's just your thing. I'm just he just didn't.
I'm just flying.
Yeah, I'm just chilling. And so that's how it was. It was like he was no pressure from us to him, and he was totally fine, of course, with everything we were doing, and was kind of involved, by proxy, but never really, didn't learn Kriya, and was just, just kind of hanging out and was there and was supportive and everything. Then one day, he says to Gauri, I want to learn Kriya. And he had like its urgency. I want to learn Kriya.
Out of the blue.
Out of the blue, completely out of the blue. And she's like, okay, like, why now? There's so many opportunities, and then all of a sudden, I want to learn Kriya. And so she said, okay, and then the teacher, which was the same woman that taught me, she was like going on a trip somewhere, and so they needed a certain amount of people to like do the course, and so it looked like it wasn't maybe going to happen, and then miraculously they got enough people to do the course, and my dad took Kriya Yoga. It was just super weird, right? Completely randomly like that. the day after he was initiated, he had a small ultralight airplane. So an airplane with no walls, basically. It's a very small aircraft. He was very poor. He couldn't afford an airplane. When my sister was born, he sold his barnstorming plane, which was a bit bigger. But yeah, so he had this ultralight, which he was keeping at a friend's. Kind of had like an airstrip, like which was just grass, basically, but you could land and take off there. And he kind of had like a small farm. And so the day he was initiated, he sent me an email and said, I was initiated into Atmakriya Yoga today. Like, yay for me. Love, Dad.
So sweet.
And that was the last email. It's the last time he ever sent anything to me. So the next day he went flying. And he had been messing around. He was kind of a tinkerer, a builder, a handyman, and he was kind of messing around with trying to mount a camera system so that he could record his flights on the outside of the airplane or front or however he had it. And so he goes flying the next day after he's initiated in Makriya, and he records his entire flight. And if you're a pilot, you know that the most satisfying thing, the biggest accomplishment in flying is landing well.
Yeah, you don't crash. Man.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's
so
the skill, yeah.
He records this flight, lands perfectly, pushes his airplane into the hangar, because it's all recorded, was all recorded, pushes his airplane into the hangar door slowly closes, fades to black, the recording stops, and then he didn't come home that night. And so Gauri, it's like, okay, he's not home, haven't heard from him. She calls the friend. Something has happened. She goes there, and they called the paramedics, and he had a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And laid down in the hangar next to his airplane. The paramedics said, we've responded to a lot of people who have had heart attacks. We've never seen anybody that looks so serene. And Gauri said that both of his eyes were pointed upwards, seemingly towards his third eye. And so, of course, I don't know about any of this, right? I wake up the next morning, 18 years old, and my mom just wake up in the morning. It's like 9 or 10 in the morning. My mom comes down the stairs, crying, sobbing, like what's going on? And she tells me, your dad is gone. Right? It's like,
sorry?
Yeah. And I'm 18 years old, and I mean, it's a hard thing to deal with at any age, but I mean, there's a lot going on in my life at the moment, and it's so jarring to experience that when you experience that, especially so suddenly. It's just like, what do you mean? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just had an email from him yesterday, and so I struggled with that, obviously, for of a long time. And still was kind of doing, was doing my Kriya still, was doing Atmakriya Yoga. Went to the funeral. Yeah, it was very tough, right? It was very, very tough. Also because, so many different emotions and things, but also me, how I am, especially at the time, I don't talk to anybody. I don't rely on anybody. I was just dealing with it all by myself, basically.
You didn't reach out to...
Yeah, because that's just not how I was, especially then, you know. Talking about the introverted type of person. So it was incredibly painful, incredibly tough. But also there was also some crazy things that happened around. I mean, first of all, the whole circumstances of his death, right? He was initiated into Atmakriya Yoga the day before he died. He suddenly, out of the blue, decided that he needed to learn Atmakriya 1 week before he died. When we went there to Washington for the funeral and everything, my dad, going back to his First Nations like experience and things like this, his you know, he had 2 spirit animals. One animal that I still associate with him and is very close to him is the blue heron, which is a beautiful bird on the west coast of Canada and America. And so we were there, you know, for his funeral. My grandparents were there, my mom's there, my stepdad's there, my sister and everybody else. And we just see blue herons everywhere. I mean, literally, I think there were 3, and they're also solitary birds. You know, you don't often see them together, right? They're just, and there were 3 circling his house. Like there was just so many things that was like so seemed very divinely orchestrated. There were, you know, he's a lot, and you're all going through all this stuff. So. That's intriguing, right?
You look at the signs, bro. I mean, you look at the signs.
That's very intriguing to me. At this point, I decided. Yeah, sorry, we're really going full here.
Yeah, this is what I was. I signed up for this.
This is the whole story.
I want the whole story.
Okay.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, so okay. I decided I didn't actually want to be a chef. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So much of my life was just, you know, I just graduated high school as well. My dad didn't see me graduate high school. He died, and a few months later, I had graduated high school.
Wow.
And I just didn't know, you know, just that time in my life, there was just so much going on, so many changes in my life happening, you know. You go to this school for 30 years of life. It's all you know. You know, you have your dad is gone. You're no longer in high school anymore. I had a new girlfriend. It was like the longest or the most serious relationship I'd ever been in. And just like so many other things going on. And all your friends and everybody, your whole world is just changing in so many ways.
Definitely.
And I decided I didn't want to be a chef. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I've been kind of working and saving money as a dish boy at a restaurant and kind of food prep. And my mom said, why don't you go traveling? Like, why don't you go and spend time with family on the east side of North America? So I have family. My mom is originally from Ontario, and I have a lot of family there. And then I also have an aunt and an uncle that live in Chicago. And my uncle is a producer. And I was like, I'm an artistic type of fellow, have been generally my whole life, and I like photography. I took a photography class, and you know, I was like, you know what? I think I want to do videography. I think I want to be a DP. I think I want to be a director of photography. I want to film things. that's what I want to do.
I want to look at the world through a lens.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'll do that. I'll go and spend time in Ontario, and then I'll go and spend like 2 months with my uncle in Chicago. And so that's what I did. In the summer, after I graduated high school, I went there. I spent 2 months with my grandmother, which was very nice, my mom's mom. And then I took a bus from Toronto to Chicago and spent 2 months with my aunt and uncle there in Chicago, which was very cool. He took me to all different kinds of places. I know that you're interested in that stuff as well.
Yeah.
Was very nice. I went to, he has a lot of connections, was very cool.
You went on sets or stuff like that?
Yeah, actually, Actually, I was in a Doritos commercial.
Oh, my nephew is here. Come.
Yeah. It was actually, it wasn't like paid by Doritos, but they have a Super Bowl thing. I don't know if they still do it, but they get people to submit commercials, and then they pick the best one. And if you get picked, you could win like $1 million or something. And so, one of my uncle's friends was also a producer director, and he was like,
So typically producer mentality. Our family is around, let's use them.
He was like, I just want to like beef up my reel,
Yeah.
So it was just like
a good experience.
Yeah, it was just that.
Perfect.
And so there was one guy, I think that there's like one scene, it's on YouTube, maybe I can.
Oh, please share.
Yeah, I'll show you later. So anyway, I'm in a short Doritos commercial. Yeah, anyway, all of that was very fun.
Nice.
During this time, I broke up with my girlfriend. And then when I was traveling also, Gauri emailed me and said, oh, we're all the Americans, like Sangha, let's say, is planning a trip to the ashram in Germany. So we're going to go there for American Thanksgiving. That's the plan. Do you want to come? And I said, yeah, sure. And then, I don't know how much longer. So that would have been, let me think here, October. So yeah, they would go in November. They would be going in November, I think. And I just finished traveling in October. So,
Boom.
Yeah, basically,
they're connected, yeah.
Basically, I decided, like the beginning or middle of October. Basically, I decided, I'm not going to do that because it's just too much. I've already been traveling for like 4.5 months.
I want in my room.
My plan was to go to, Vancouver and start like trying to get an internship. I got connected through my uncle, a guy there, blah, 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 that they rent like all of these giant productions. They rent all their equipment, right?
Yeah.
It's not like...
Of course.
Like Christopher Nolan, for example, films the Batman movies in Chicago, and we went to the place where he rented all of his cameras from.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and that guy knew a guy in Vancouver, so I was going to go there. I was going to try and work for this camera rental company, essentially. Like, you think camera rental company is like, no, it's like the vault that these people had was like, because it's literally like millions and millions of dollars worth of equipment. Yeah.
Definitely.
Like some serious like Hollywood level camera equipment. So that was my plan. So I was going to go to Vancouver and try and start pursuing that. And so, yeah, I just said, it's too much. So I said, I'm not going to go to Germany. She was like, okay. And then sometime after that, I got an email saying, Paramahamsa Vishwananda is coming to Washington, Bellingham, to inaugurate a temple. So after I decided I'm not going to go to Germany, right now anyway, it's too much. Some days later, or a week or 2 weeks or however long it was, get the email, Guruji's coming to Bellingham.
If you're not coming, okay,
exactly.
I will come.
Yeah, exactly like that.
I have to travel again because of these people, man. They don't want to move their ass
to the edge of the world, as Guruji says.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, that's super easy then. So instead of flying, back to Canada, I'll just fly to Bellingham. I've made, that's where my dad lived. I've been there so many times. I'm very familiar. It's totally easy thing to do. And then I'll head back home to Vancouver Island after that. So all of this, right? All this stuff, like my dad dying, to high school, to chef, to cinematographer, to traveling, to breaking up with my girlfriend, by the way, yeah? This girlfriend that it was a very serious relationship that I had.
She was the one.
Evidently not. But all of this stuff like happened, quite quickly. And I'm just going through all of this, and then all of a sudden also living with my aunt and uncle. At the time, I had two teenage cousins at the time,
Younger
crazy. Yeah, younger, and there was a 5-year-old boy. So I went from like living this like very chaotic, crazy, like going into the city, and I'm from like a very small town of Vancouver Island, and I was freaking out when I first went into Chicago City. I was like, this is nuts, man! Like, these buildings are massive, and all these things, all these people, and
Country boy is impressed by the big city.
Yeah, I really was. And then going back home, and the my aunt and uncle and their families like has their own drama going on, and it was just like so crazy, like 2 young teenage girls and a 5-year-old boy, and this and that, and then all of these things in my life leading up to me flying to Bellingham before Guruji arrived, and then all of a sudden I was just like in this temple. That the same couple, by the way, that I initially met for this Om chanting, had converted their. It was like a separate garage.
Oh, okay.
Like parking garage, for cars. It was a separate building to the main building, and then converted it into a Bhakti Marga Hindu temple. Of course, I still know nothing about any of this stuff. And I remember just being there, and I was like, oh my God, it's like so quiet. It's so peaceful. This energy is like so different from everything I had just been through. All the chaos of my life up until that point. And then, for me, it was really just a pit stop, Okay, like this guy's coming, this guru, even to be honest, like I didn't keep up with
what was happening.
Yeah, like meeting Tulsidas was a huge deal in my life, all of these things. But life had moved, had shifted, and
you had the plans.
As it does, I had plans, I had graduated, you have to think about this, you have to do this, life moves you along.
Yeah.
The system, let's say, the culture moves you along in a certain direction. So it was really more just like, oh yeah, like I remember about this guy, like he seems cool, I want to meet him, why not? And so that was my mentality. That was kind of my state of mind going to meet him. And I just I just met him, and everything just changed.
So you met him at the inauguration of this temple?
I met him in the airport. I literally met him in the airport.
Please do share.
Yeah. So we're there. I'm
waiting for him.
Yeah, I'm 18 years old. There's probably like 20 or 30 people, American devotees. Also, I felt very out of place. They're all there to see him. They all have experiences with him. We're all there at the airport. They're all singing Narayana, Narayana.
In the middle of the airport.
Yeah,
it's
also late at night. It's a small airport. It's a small town.
So it was empty.
But still, I was like, I'm not with these people. The security guards and people are like, what? Like looking at us kind of weird, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on, dude.
I'm also witnessing this. Like I'm you guys.
Yeah, I'm like you guys. I don't know, but so yeah, it was all that, and then I was like, this is interesting. This is crazy. And then he just walked around the corner, and he was there, and he kind of, I think to the people, he just kind of went and kind of said hello to everybody, and then he came to me and took my hand and kind of just making some small talk with me. Oh, what's your name? Where are you from? Hi. I was very nervous. I'm Cameron. I'm from Canada. Oh, nice. And again, I had these preconceived ideas of what a Hindu guru was supposed to be like, Okay, you imagine somebody with a very long beard and
only a cloth around his waist.
Yeah, a cloth, and sitting on a mountain somewhere, and his eyes are always only half open, and he only speaks in great riddles and great proverbs and all these things, And Guruji was he broke the ice, people were there was this kind of everybody's like, oh my God, and I remember just going and waiting for his bag, and everybody's it's just this energy that is around Guruji. Yeah. He's just he just kind of looked at, made a joke and was now what, and just kind of broke the tension, and I was like, wow, this this is different. This is not what I expected. He's very sweet. He's very human, so to speak. And yeah, so I mean, I remember also it was like also late at night, and they were like, okay, we're gonna go back to the house now, and we're gonna have dinner. We're having dinner now. I was like, it's like midnight. Like, are you sure he wants to eat? Like, this is crazy. Like, I was like, we thought we'd just meet him and then like go to sleep, you know? Like, what do you mean he's eating? It's gonna be like 1 a.m. when he eats. Of course, little did I know, it's quite normal for Guruji.
That's the schedule.
Exactly. Yeah, and then so I mean, we went back to the house, yeah, and Guruji. I mean, yeah. Immediately, like again, going back to my introvertedness, I'm especially more so back then, but shy person, don't like to be in any kind of attention if I can avoid it. He makes me sit at the table with him, puts me on the table with him, starts giving me a lot of attention, asking me, making small talk with me, asks me to sing something. The first night that I met him, yeah, and all of these things, yeah, and it was just crazy. I mean, observing people also around him and seeing how he was, and I mean, he's very different, right? He's a very different.
He's a special person.
Yes, yeah. Yes. And so after dinner, I remember he kind of called me, and I went and was like kneeling down next to him at the head of the table there, and people are kind of going around, there's commotion happening around, people are cleaning up, and kind of asks me a few questions. I'm still very nervous, of course, and he's making a little bit of small talk with me. Are you from? This and that. And then he says, oh, we'll talk later. I said, okay, yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is just a polite thing to say, you know?
Of course.
He's making some small talk. We'll talk later. No idea when that will be. I didn't even expect anything, right? It's just a polite thing to say. But then, lo and behold, I think it was even the same night still. He says, everybody go now to the temple, which is the separate garage building that's been converted into a temple. Go there and do kirtan. And I'll join you, like, eventually. And he sends everybody out of the house. And then it's just me and him in the house. And of course, my dad was on my mind, you know? All of these circumstances that happened with my dad's death and all the things. I mean, you know, he was initiated in my career. I was really thinking about him. And I wanted to ask Guruji about him. And so Guruji sits me down in the living room, sitting on the couch. He's looking at me and he says, just looks at me, he says, ask me what you want to ask me. And I'm still very nervous, I'm shy, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he looks at me again, and he says, no, come on, ask me what you want to ask. And the first question I asked him was, like, how's my dad? Is my dad okay? And yeah, I just remember this doesn't translate well to a story, which I think is probably the case often with experiences with Guruji.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he looked away. And it's funny, I just remember in that time also, like there's a certain understanding, a certain clarity that I think he gave me in even that whole trip, but in that moment especially. He looked away, was looking at something, okay? He was going through the universal records. He was looking somewhere beyond this physical reality. And I say that based on nothing except my own feeling. But the feeling was so strong, I knew what he was doing. And he said, he looked back at me after looking away for some time, and he looked back and said, you don't have to worry about him. He's good. He's fine. And I just knew that he was telling the truth. You know what I mean? It wasn't even like, it was just true. It was just 100% true, because I just knew it. I felt it. And yeah, that was my first kind of interaction with him.
It's really hard to explain this. Like, someone tells you, anyone from your life could tell you, your father is fine.
Yeah.
And you'd be, yeah, sure. So there would be that. But with Guruji, when he literally tells you something, you have the feeling that comes with the words that he's
No,
speaking.
it's really something else. It's not
really strange,
describable. I cannot, you know.
Because you have the feeling that
it doesn't translate as a story. You hear that and you have you feel or think whatever you think, but I'm telling you, this is my experience. This is what I knew. And it's not even a question. It's just
you know he knows.
Yeah. You know he
knows. He's
and
not
it's
like
not even a
guess or
there's
something.
no doubt that you know.
He didn't read it from somewhere.
There's no doubt that you know that he knows. Yeah. And so we sat there for some time longer, and we talked, and I asked him many different questions, and we had a long conversation. That was the beginning of this trip. If you ask people about that trip, still to this day, he was there for like a week or 9 days or so, I think.
It was his first time in America?
No, not his first time.
Not the first time, no.
His first time was many years ago, early 2000s, I think. And this would have been 2000. Oh no, 13, 14.
Oh, okay.
The end of 2014. That trip was crazy. And there's many other stories from that trip, small things and just insane things. I mean, it completely changed the trajectory of my life. Those few days.
Let's have a pit stop here. It's good to rest.
Completely changed.
Is it doable? I think it's doable. That trip exactly.
Yeah, I mean, my life was going in one direction, right? I was planning on going to Vancouver and starting
Become
whatever.
a videographer.
Yes. And
it's a
then
good plan.
I met Guruji, and I mean, there at that trip also, he invited me to come to Germany. He invited me to come to the ashram. He invited me to come with him to Holi in India. And basically, I just said, okay. The funny thing also is that after Guruji left and all this stuff, so he left, would have been the beginning of November. So I was 19 years old. Then I turned 20 in December. And then I arrived in Germany on January 29th, 2025. So I've almost been in Germany exactly 10 years in a few days. Depending on when this comes out, we'll have been already.
In a few days, in the weekend probably it will come out. So
yeah. So in 8 days from now, we'll be 10 years exactly when I
let's
landed
celebrate
in Germany.
that. Let's celebrate that. So we should air this to celebrate 10 years of Germany. You survived, bro.
I survived, yeah.
You survived 10 years
Against the cold and everything else. The funny thing is that I don't know. It's funny to look back on these specific decisions you make. I mean, I remember having a conversation with my mom, and even after all of that, I had this girlfriend that I'd broken up with. We had broken up when I had been traveling, and I said to my mom, "I'm gonna try and get back together with her, and if it works, because I was trying." It's complicated.
Yeah, of course.
She did. She wanted. She didn't. I wanted. Whatever. So she didn't. Yeah, she was hurt. But anyway, whatever it is, I said I'm going to try and get back together with her, and if it works, then I'm going to stay. And if I can't get back together with her, then I'll go to Germany.
So that was the test.
Of course, I just said that to my mom. I didn't say that to anybody else. I didn't tell her that or anything. But could it make it work? Didn't work. And I went to Germany in January.
It's this, Swami and Asha, when he was sharing his story, he had the same.
Yeah?
The same, yeah. He was considering 3.
Oh my God.
3 attempts. He said, if none of these
wow.
options work, then that means this is the path. So it seems like for you it was clearer.
Yeah.
He was like the scientific mind, needed 3 options. Nice.
Crazy. Yeah, so... also, I some years later, actually, Kalpit, which is the father of Swami Tulsidas, who was also there, who I also met, who I also loved. I met him just before I met Guruji, because I would arrive before Guruji, and Kalpit was staying at Gary's house with us, and I really liked him as well. And years later, he just texted me and said, "Oh, by the way, I have this photo of you and Guruji in the airport, and it's literally a photo of the moment that I met Guruji. And we're like holding hands. So I'll send it to you. You can
Wow, that would be amazing.
put it up somewhere.
This is edit time.
Oh yeah, you have to edit. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I don't do this,
Yeah,
but
you're hanging out with the videographer now. You have to editor. You have to do it.
I have to evolve, bro. I have to upskill. What to do? This is
So
good,
yeah, I'll
good.
send you that picture, which is funny also. Maybe you can see also in that photo how nervous I am. But it's a very cool
So
photo.
sweet.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, what? This is amazing. So I literally have a photo of the moment that I met him. But yeah, I mean that's the story. That's the full story. And I never moved back. I've been here ever since.
Wow, this is crazy. So you came here, but there was no intention of staying. You
Yeah,
just
I literally came with a backpack. I mean, when I left, I was like, I just turned 20. I was like, I want to go traveling. I've always wanted to go traveling. I'd never been out of North America. Like in my 20 years of life, I'd just been into Canada and the United States. I'd never been in. And
It's a big piece of land, bro. It's
it's
understandable.
yeah.
It's a big piece of land.
But I landed in Germany for the first time, and Pankaj came and picked me up, and it was from there it's been a lot. It's been a crazy journey. Then even a few months after that, I think even in like a month or a month and a half after that, I was in India with Guruji alone, which I didn't even realize how special that was. Not entirely, but the first part of the trip I was there with him alone, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories.
White privilege. Bro, how did you become devotee? I mean, it came natural, or you?
Yeah, well, I mean, at that time,
you were devotee when you went to India.
When did you meet Guruji?
I met Guruji in 2019.
Okay.
So it was before. I also became devotee quite quick.
Okay, because the
It was possible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sorry, I'm just had a side thought. 2015, right when I came, the beginning of 2015. There wasn't really this idea of like devotee and follower.
It was Jal Brahmachari.
Yeah,
back
Jal
then.
Brahmachari.
Okay.
I mean, I think I remember even just like, I think I asked Guruji. Yeah, I mean, I asked Guruji. Literally when I met him, okay? Not the day I met him, but like that trip when he was in Washington. And I said, oh man, that trip was so crazy and was going through so many different things and all kinds of just crazy conversations and experiences and things happening with him. And I was like, I remember asking him at one point, are you my guru? And he just looked at me and was like, what do you feel? And I was like, I think so. And he's like, yeah. So that was it. I mean,
so sweet.
Yeah, this idea kind of now this developed that to become a devotee is a more substantial. There's a process and all these things. This was later, so I never went through that process.
Pre-COVID.
So
we can.
It's the early adoption, like when you like early investor,
early
Apple
adopters.
or whatever. Yeah, things changed a lot. I mean,
yeah, this is a fail-safe. Even people need to understand.
Even when I first arrived, like now, see everybody in robes. Like that even wasn't a thing. You would wear robes sometimes, to do
celebrations,
ceremonies, and to go to the temple and things like this. But like generally, like you wouldn't even see the monks in robes all the time. I mean, just small things like this, like things evolve. Guruji's evolved.
Grew.
Yeah, the mission has grown a lot.
And for us Westerners, that was an important step to be relatable for all these people. You cannot turn Hindu overnight.
Yeah,
just adopt everything.
I mean, Guruji, of course, he knows what he's doing, and there's of course like this is all
planned.
I don't know. I mean, planned is funny. I think because I think he just does. You know what I mean? And then we look back on it and go, wow, that's a good plan. But it's just like, it just all makes sense, It's like, 100% like that. Yeah.
And how was it for you? How did life change from being, like all your teenage life was full of these events and then you end up in an ashram?
Yeah.
It's a completely different lifestyle, probably.
Yeah.
Different culture. How was it hard for you to adapt to these small rooms, this crappy weather?
No, I mean the weather where I'm from is similarly crappy.
Yeah.
It's not even worse somehow. It's a bit
And
warmer
when it's
there,
cold,
but
it's warmer.
Where I'm from, Vancouver Island is it's an island off the coast of Vancouver. It's mostly just wet. It's like a rainforest.
So you like it here, basically.
So yeah, no, I don't know. I think Guruji also. I mean, it's hard to look back sometimes and think about, because I feel we change very gradually. Guruji is very good at that also, and you don't even realize somehow how much you've changed, and you kind of really have to think. I think, by his teachings and his grace and everything, I've survived, so to speak. And
What were the challenges? What were the challenges like? Because once you meet your master, definitely your life gets a turn, and you start seeing your own life in a different perspective, and you start to be aware of the choices you need to make to do the change.
Yeah.
So
I think it's such a common misconception that the Western world has, where, I mean, this is exactly how I was also before. I'm gonna go to an ashram. I literally thought that the ashram was basically everybody just meditates all day, and they're doing like Zen gardens. They're like gardening and like doing like
walking slow motion.
Yeah. And it's literally just meditation and like kind of prayer. And maybe that's true for some people, some spiritual organizations or whatever, but that's not the path of bhakti. It's not Guruji's teaching. It's like it's a very living spirituality. It's not that it's this relationship, this active relationship that you have with God at every moment of every day, and it takes a lot of kind of effort also, and it's and also when I heard this described to me. I don't know if it was Guruji that said this or who, but especially when you go on this path, the spiritual path or the bhakti path specifically, you imagine kind of your subconscious or your consciousness also, that's like a glass of water, and there's a lot of sediment, right? And in life it settles, right? It all that dirt and grime and everything in the glass of water, which is yourself, settles to the bottom of the glass. And when you go on the spiritual path, you have to try and remove that. But to remove it, you have to stir the cup, and you have to start working to remove it, Where Guruji gives this example of like when you find a diamond or when you have gold, like it has to go through a purification process. And that process can be very challenging. There's a lot of challenges, but also very, very rewarding. So, it's not necessarily an easy path. It's not just that you move to an ashram, you become a monk, and
it's that romantic view of the spiritual life.
It's really like, a lot of things in life that you have to work and you have to become better. You have to try and improve yourself also. And
it's an effort that you really need to put your effort into it.
And there's a lot of things that can come up personally just within yourself, or you just wake up some mornings and it's still an effort. I'm like, I'm not there yet. I haven't achieved. Some days much of anything. And you just wake up and you have periods that are better and worse, and but I mean, at the end of the day, we're very lucky to have Guruji always, that kind of has our backs, or keeps us on the path, keeps us centered, or on what's important and what's not important, and these kinds of things. Yeah.
And you had moments when you felt like you are at the edge.
Oh,
and
are you trying to coax this story out of me? Do you know this story?
I'm just
probing,
bro.
Yes. Yeah. Funny you should say. Yes. Yeah. In 2000, was it 19 or 18? I think 19. Yeah, it was very, very, very close. I guess you know a little bit about the.
I heard.
Yeah.
Parts of it.
That's good. You're listening. You're listening to the, You're listening to the satsangs.
I'm listening to all the satsangs.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, in 2019 there was a whole episode. Was very tough. Was a very big lesson for me. I was very, very close to leaving. Yeah, I mean, I had a plane ticket, which is a big deal because it's not like I'm
not
from Europe.
considering. I'm literally buying the plane
and it's
ticket,
not like I just I live in the UK or I live in Portugal or something and I'm just gonna go there. Yeah. It's like no, I'm just gonna fly
over the ocean
to the other side of the planet, and like that's because that's where I'm from. So yeah, I don't know how much you want to talk about that.
Of course, I want to talk about the whole process because I'm curious what keeps people here next to him.
Okay.
There's a lot in our life. Guruji at one point said, the worst thing that could happen in your life is to quit, not fail. Fail, it's very good. Fail as much as possible, but when you quit, you miss a chance. So that's why I'm interested in the process, what keeps people on the path, because it's really easy to quit. Your comfort zone kicks in, you have so many things that can draw you outside of this space because it's not comfortable to be in an ashram. It's not comfortable to be next to Guruji. And what keeps you here? That's why I was curious about the process that you had.
So just to kind of give a more condensed version, because this is going to be a very long episode otherwise.
We have all the time in the world, bro. YouTube is unlimited.
Maybe not technically true, actually. I think there is a limit. I think it's like...
We're not gonna...
Yeah. Might be like...
It's not because of
10
us.
10 hours or 12 hours, but yeah. We could go for that.
We'll go, bro. We still have battery. So.
Right. So let's see. It was kind of an extended process where Guruji was very tough. He was being kind of very tough on me for several months. And I was kind of going through a lot. Tough in the sense of, he's kind of just disappointed in me or kind of seemingly criticizing this and that and, you're not taking this seriously or, you're not serious basically, of whatever it is. And I was trying to kind of correct that to some degree, but he didn't seem, it was very tough. He was just being very tough. And looking back.
He was pushing you.
Yeah, pushing. And looking back in retrospect, I understand. And part of the reason I understand is because of the conclusion of this whole story, which I'll get to. But it was a very, very tough few months for me. Very tough. And basically it kind of just culminated into this point where I thought that I was just wasting his time, It was like that it would be better for him, essentially, if I just don't stop wasting his time, that he can...
That was your conclusion somehow.
Yeah, okay. This was my conclusion. That he can spend his time on, people that are more fruitful, let's say, or, like, he can spend his time better. I'm wasting his time. I don't want to waste his time. And I think, I'm failing to some degree, whatever. And so the conclusion is I should leave. And it really seemed, at least from my point of view, that he was really pushing me in that direction also. It wasn't like I just came to this conclusion out of a vacuum. It was like, I really think this is the right thing to do. And so, but I knew that I had to be very, very sure. Because you learn when you say things. I mean, Guruji said once, I think he said 3 things, if I'm remembering this correctly, Everything kind of creates karma, right? Your thoughts, we also know that create karma. And there's a certain energy behind thoughts. But Guruji says that there's thoughts, which are one thing, that have some kind of potency. Then there's speech, which is another level, okay? When you say something verbally out loud, it's another level of energetic potency, let's say, and then actions, right? And so I know, having lived with Guruji, like if I'm going to say something, and I think everybody should heed this message if you're if you're following Guruji, if you're a devotee of Guruji, you have to be very careful. I mean, of course, not always, but if it's something sensitive, if there's something specific, you have to be very careful how you say things to Guruji and how you speak to him and what words you're saying and what expectations you have also, because so often, especially when we go to Guruji, and Guruji says this all the time, right? You have a question, you have a life decision, but you want to go and ask him for advice, right? But you already have an expectation. And so it's just a message to be very, very careful. So I knew this. I thought I have to be very sure about this decision before I say it out loud to Guruji. And I really took time, like substantial time, and like kind of really like meditating and really trying to decide if it was the right decision. And I came to the conclusion that it was the right decision to do. And so I went to him and I said, I'm going to leave, basically. After I said that, for the next like 10 days, my life became complete chaos. I mean, so initially even, I'd come to this decision. I was very, very strong in this decision. And immediately when I told him, he said, don't. Like, no, I don't want you to go. Which was also shocking to me.
But I thought you wanted
because
me
I
to
thought
go.
that he wanted me to go. And I couldn't change my decision because I genuinely had really taken the decision very strongly. I'd really taken the time and really made that decision. And so I couldn't change my mind.
Wow.
And then he was like, wow, you're serious, okay. And then, yeah, the next 10 days, he was, I mean, to talk about it on a kind of surface level, he was trying everything to convince me to stay, essentially.
Oh, wow.
Which was sweet, but also was not so sweet sometimes. It was insane. I've never had an experience with Guruji like that, where it was literally like he would come to me like in the same day, and he would be one person, then a few hours later he would be completely different. He would be like, oh, I don't even care. He would come to me and would be very, very sweet. He was sending every single person that he could to come and talk to me. I was having long talks and conversations with people about different things. Like every single person he would, all the Swamis were coming to talk to me, all the people, everybody that he could.
Bro, he really invested in you.
Which is all
crazy,
funny, right? Yeah,
crazy.
To look back, because I thought also I'm wasting his time and I'm a bad investment, but then he's doing all of this stuff. So, okay, so all of this chaos, but I was so determined. I had made my decision really so strongly, and I couldn't, I'm not even scratching the surface of how insane this time was, really. Because also then I'm having conversations with people in Canada. My mom buys my plane ticket for me, but they're not even home at the moment, so I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do when I even get to Canada, and what do I need to pack, and like I have all this stuff, and I have to pack, and then I'm gonna go and stay at a friend's house, I'm organizing with them. It's just complete chaos. And then of course, and it's also 9 hours difference there, so I'm trying to and I'm going through all this other stuff, and all these people are giving me all their opinions and trying to convince me or not convince me or being supportive or not or whatever, and Guruji's being insane, and was just complete chaos. And then the night before I'm meant to leave, okay, I have a plane ticket. My mom everybody's expecting me. All my friends and family are expecting that I'm coming back. I have plans. My friend is gonna go and pick me up from the airport, and I'm gonna stay with him at his house for however long until my parents come back from their vacation. And That's the night before. Still, I'm leaving, and I went down to the ashram. It's probably like 11 or 11:30 or midnight. It's late at night, okay? The ashram is closed. Everything is dark. I had to go to the mailroom and get some whatever because I'm leaving tomorrow morning. And I'm just there. I'm alone. I go in the light hall, and I just sit down in the light hall for a moment, and I start going through my phone and kind of looking. I just started, for whatever, I don't remember how, but I started going through basically just old photos that I had. And this was, 4 years, I guess I'd been with Guruji already. And I just was just looking at photos from all my trips, all my experiences, all the photos that I had with Guruji and of Guruji and all these things. And I just really I found all these pictures of Guruji. And it's kind of just in that moment, everything that was seemed very, very complicated, you know, all these things, all this stuff that Guruji had been kind of testing me and challenging me for months, and all this craziness that I've just been going through, which seemed like very complicated, and I couldn't change my mind, and all these things. It just became very, very simple. And I was looking at these photos, and I just realized, oh, I love this guy. I just really love this guy. I was looking at all these photos and just thinking about Guruji. And then I just texted him and I said, I don't want to leave. Which, again, is like a simple thing, but it didn't seem simple. You know, it didn't seem simple. And then Guruji responded immediately and said, then don't. And it was just kind of like, oh. And this very complicated situation that I thought that I was in just became very, very simple. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, okay, I kind of went to my room and went to bed and woke up in the morning, you know, had a car organized to take me to the airport. And and I just decided, and I was like, yeah, I think even Guruji said, yeah, just rest and think about it. And you let me know in the morning. And in the morning I just said, okay, I decided I'm not going to leave. And I think Guruji texted what's your decision? I said, I'm going to decide it this day. And he said, good. He said, come over and see me. And it really felt like, you know, you go through a hurricane, and after a massive storm can be very calm, you know. Everything's destroyed, but it's very calm. Yeah, it's silent, you know. And I felt so calm, actually, after all of this absolute chaos. I felt very, very serene, to use that word again. And I went to see Guruji, and Guruji also was very calm and had a very kind of funny, interesting demeanor about himself. And he was like, I knew that you would stay. I knew that you would make that decision to stay. I was like, what are you talking about? How? How did you know that? And then we sat and had one of the most important conversations that I've had with him in the 10 years that I've known him. And he essentially said to me, all I want from you, all you need to do, all that I want from you is just that you trust. Just trust me. And know that every situation that I put you in, no matter how difficult it might appear to be, or however I appear to be to you, you know, however upset I am or whatever I am with you, just know that I'm just doing it for you. I'm doing everything I'm only doing for your benefit. And I even specifically asked him, specific situations. Even when you were, really upset with me this time, you weren't, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah. I mean, he literally, Guruji, he's kind of a poker player, you know? He doesn't, and he plays his role that he needs to play to get you to change. And change can be very difficult sometimes. And in that conversation, he revealed his hand, you know, and said, guess what, dude? I'm bluffing, basically.
All the time, just for you to go through that chaos, and your mind can...
And he said, just trust me. And that's like genuinely one of the most important conversations I've ever had with him. And I feel very, very lucky, because it's one thing to talk about it, and many people might say this. It's another thing to have that experience, And it's not that it's easy, because when you're in the heat of that moment, you will forget.
Yeah.
Always, almost always.
Yeah.
But it's just a good reminder, It's when and at the end of the day, just always just try and have that trust and understand, that everything he's doing is only for our benefit. Because, I mean, I've been with him for 10 years. He doesn't have anything to gain from any of us. He doesn't want anything from any of us, The only reason that he's here is for all of our benefits. And so, he has to do things, He has to polish that diamond which he perceives in all of us. He has to put that gold through purification process that he sees, that gold of who we are. And he has to stir that cup of water, which is not always pleasant. But again, by his grace and by his teachings, it's possible. Just trust.
Whoa. Oh, it feels so good. Bro, it feels so good. I keep on telling the people when I have these conversations, sometimes I know the stories. Sometimes I heard the satsangs. That's intriguing me. That's why I want to meet the person and find out more. And on the lengthy conversation, you receive the feeling of that. I was like, in the movie, bro. I was actually in the movie with you, and when I saw that moment with you in the light hall, I literally saw you there on the phone, and I felt that. I felt my story. I was trying to be in that situation, and I'm really grateful that you shared this, because it's so easy to forget, like you said. In those moments you forget, and trust, I think it's one of the hardest things to gain and to keep, because our mind doesn't operate on trust. It's our heart that operates on trust, and I think this is why he has to break somehow the mind, so we can fall into this space of the heart where we can literally trust, because the heart trusts. Follow your gut feeling, like we say. You just jump.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. You just jump. The mind doesn't need to understand. So I'm really grateful for you sharing this, and I'm really happy that people got the chance to find the full story, the complete arc.
Yeah.
And it's helpful.
Must be why podcasts are so popular. I feel also like I gave everything,
I felt it.
All the details and everything, It's like
finally,
given enough time to really,
to really enjoy the conversation and stay. And they are popular because people miss this in their life. We have TikTok, we have Instagram. Everything is scrolling. The shorter, the better, because I don't have time. And one of the statements that I'm trying to make with this podcast is that's why I don't edit. That's why I don't want to do the complicated stuff, because if you really want to meet a person, come with us, man. Come with us. Walk with us. Sit at on the bench with us. Hear all the noises that we hear and enjoy the experience of just spending time with the person. Because we never had this. We don't have this time, bro.
Yeah.
We're so busy in the ashram. It's crazy here. And we need an excuse. This is my excuse of getting to know the people. And if we can have a witness that can enjoy also this conversation, that is good to share with people. But I'm grateful. I feel like I connected finally with you in a way that it wouldn't have been possible during lunch break, running, drinking a tea, 5 minutes and having a chat. So I really appreciate this, brother.
Well,
Thank you for chasing after me. It was super nice. I feel like I talked a lot, but
It was with purpose, and it's really, really beneficial for a lot of people, I'm sure.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, that's the thing ultimately, is like I'm grateful that I have such stories to share.
Exactly, yeah.
By grateful to him. Like it's
Yeah.
all. I'm just a side note on his story. Like
His story.
that. If somebody can find something helpful, something useful from it, like that's ultimately also what he's doing with us. Hopefully.
Yeah. It's amazing. Hope everybody can benefit from this conversation. It was lovely having you, brother.
We got the weather as well. This is awesome.
Bro, it was like
Super
from
nice.
a cinematography point of view. It was have nice lighting now. Golden hour soon. So thank you for being.
You have to get somebody else now. You have to get the next one. Take advantage.
Pankaj, because you mentioned Pankaj. So he was next.
Yeah.
He was next, and probably if tomorrow I have the chance, I'm gonna take advantage of this beautiful weather. So Pankaj and Swami Akash.
Oh.
We have to get all these people. We have to get all these people. So, dear friends, stay grounded, walk straight, and join us next time.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Sorry, most of it's live. Sorry. Mahadev's already. You're live, rather. Mahadev's live. Sorry. Mahadev is live. Mahadev is live. Rishi Prakash, get some crowd maybe. Mahadev to stay there. Wide shot live. Yeah. Krishna Prakash ready. Nice. Krishna Prakash live. Mahadev ready. Nice, very nice. This is nice for a roll this if you're not.